Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing fantastic, that you're taking care of yourself and that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and on TikTok. There are links in the description below. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. I need to say beforehand, there's going to be a lot of what I categorize as stupid news in this video. For those of you who don't know, stupid news is news that's stupid. Plain and simple. It's stuff that pops up in the cryptocurrency news. It ends up being so absolutely popular, that it basically becomes like a major headline. So I go over and I discuss it, and I tell you explicitly how nonsensical that it actually is. This is one of the most popular news stories that we have had in a while. Normally, you'll find news information on a couple websites. This was basically everywhere. I believe I know the actual answer as to why, but I'll let you ponder on that for yourself. Cardano's Voltaire-era governance overhaul prevents it from becoming a dictatorship like Ethereum and sidesteps the anarchy of Bitcoin, its founder Charles Hoskinson said. Speaking to Cointelegraph at Token 2049 in Singapore, Hoskinson attacked Ethereum's governance model, claiming it relies too heavily on its co-founder Vitalik Buterin for direction. The major bulk of the news, and you can find this in every single article, is that at some point, and I would say allegedly, but he did, Charles Hoskinson basically said that Ethereum and that Vitalik Buterin are a form of a dictatorship, that everyone follows Vitalik Buterin and does what Vitalik Buterin says, and whatever he wants ends up happening, and only because of the recent update for Cardano has Cardano sidestepped all of that and is no longer anything of the sort. If you didn't catch it constantly, what's been happening is that basically it's been implied that the previous version of Cardano was also essentially a dictatorship as well, that people were forced to do what the creators said they had to do, but now because of the upgrade, everything is 1000% better and there's no problems at all. Charles Hoskinson has had a very interesting's the word, history within the cryptocurrency space. If you missed it years ago or simply were not here, the news always is that all of these people know each other. This tends to be a common misconception that these people haphazardly applied for a job or were one day sitting at home in a lounge chair or in their garage going, how do I make the world a better place? And then they magically came up with this idea. No, a lot of the early developers for Bitcoin at some point realized that they could create their own coin. So they went away and they made, I think the rumors are that this is how XRP was created. Like it was one of the early first branch offs from Bitcoin. And then a lot of the other developers basically were like, they had ideas for what Bitcoin could be. These were rejected by people in the office or wherever, and they broke off and created Ethereum. A large portion of the people who created Ethereum or who were co-founders were at some point told to go away or they left on their own. History says, according to multiple books and interviews, that Charles Hoskinson used to work on Ethereum Allegedly, apparently, he was not very well liked. He was not very favored. If you read a couple of books and interviews and podcasts with people like the earlier Ethereum creators, apparently Charles Hoskinson was told to leave the project for allegedly lying about nearly everything. Allegedly. And I mean like everything. Apparently telling stories about women he had courted and projects he had done and historical events that he had been a part of that people easily Googled and found out he was not a part of. Like, look it up. There's also that famous podcast. I think it's from Laura Shin, Laurashin, from a couple of months ago about the like beginnings of Ethereum. And Charles Hoskinson was prominently in one part of it, basically, where all the other developers came forward and they were like, yeah, this never happened, that never happened, he didn't do this, it and so and so and so. And since then, there's been a really, really weird, almost like kindergarten kind of grudge. Like, he took my crayons 7 years ago and I can't forgive him kind of thing. So whenever anything happens to or is spoken about of in Cardano's direction, Charles Hoskinson has been known to come out kind of swinging, in that he tries to defend Cardano, but all he does is loop back around to talk negatively about Ethereum. This news became incredibly popular because he announced dictatorship and was like, this is what Vitalik Buterin is doing, and he's an awful human being, and the coin is a so-and-so, and this chain is... As I mentioned before in other videos earlier this year, if you somehow were not here, I think Cardano could be a major project. I know it's very popular. I know a lot of people like it. I know there's a community behind it. But you might have noticed news-wise in the last 2 years, it is kind of lacking. A lot of the news has been around Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum. I'll dare even say the S word. A lot of it has been around Solana, but I mean, Solana's also a scam that's been, promoting itself. So Tron has been in the news more than Cardano. Cardano's been in the news for basically saying that they're going to upgrade. They're going to have an upgrade. An upgrade is going to arrive. Them having the upgrade and then saying that there's going to be another upgrade somewhere down the road. And or Charles Hoskinson digitally fighting people. Every time someone says something negative about Cardano, he makes a YouTube video. If he's at a conference, he openly talks about how Cardano is amazing and how Ethereum is absolutely terrible and horrible and no one should be using it. So I think Cardano could be as big as XRP, and I don't want to say the word Ethereum, but I think it could be a literal major part of the industry. But you've also noticed that the amount of news about partnerships has kind of been lacking for Cardano in the last couple of years as well. I think it's weird to say that Ethereum's a dictatorship when all we hear. Can you name 5 other people from the Cardano team except for Hoskinson? Can you name 3? Can you name 2 other people who are in the spotlight more than Hoskinson is? Very, 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 very odd. Hoskinson said that blockchains can elect to keep the protocol forever simple, like Bitcoin, or pick a king to run things. Hoskinson is the king of Cardano. Can you name 3 other people if Hoskinson left who would be able to take over Cardano or to let, have a governing voice in some sort of way? Hey, guys, we have this coming out. This is going to take place. Guess who we partnered with? You can't name anyone else. However, because of Cardano's recent upgrade, apparently it has solved the governance trilemma of efficiency, effectiveness, and integrity by using delegated representatives and members in a members-based organization called Intersect to distill complex governance topics down for a vote. Who are the members? Can anyone name the members? There's a members-based organization, which means you have to become a member. You have to be chosen for this organization. He said, if you have those three things, then you have a fair shot at avoiding the anarchy of Bitcoin or the dictatorship of Ethereum, and you actually have something that can move forward with one voice. But it's still decentralized at the end of the day because it represents everybody, end quote. This was, as I said, incredibly popular news. I think it's delusional in a number of means simply because Charles Hoskinson is the only voice of Cardano. Remember how I mentioned, if you weren't here in summertime, I said I think Cardano would be a lot better off, as a complete project. Charles Hoskinson is incredibly wealthy. Not even first world wealthy, he's 0.1% wealthy. I feel like stepping away from the project is totally fine. No one will fault you for it. Cardano's been around for such a long amount of time. If you had other people who were in essence delegated to kind of be the representatives for Cardano, I think that the coin would actually flourish. Every time that someone says something negative about Cardano and you make a YouTube video about it and basically are screaming at people, it doesn't bode well for the community or for the coin. Because what we don't see is that behind the scenes, larger players are also watching those YouTube videos and they go, I don't want to do business with that guy. I don't want to touch that coin. Haven't you noticed it's a little bit weird that there's been no partnership news at all for Cardano in years? Don't you think it's odd that no one's talking about a Cardano ETF, Cardano futures, Cardano options? Yeah. Very, very popular news. It's a bit delusional in a number of means, but I think that's where a lot of the cryptocurrency space has gone. I think Cardano, as I've stated before, has one or two cycles left in it. But besides that, if things don't actually change, it's cool that there's a new form of governance and you have there's a Cardano constitution. But the last couple of years of screaming at people and telling people to, expletive, doesn't help the project at all. Cool. That's Ethereum is apparently a dictatorship. Sure. Why not? Okie dokie. Let's move on. Also, in very popular news, once again, little shocked here. It's happening again. Dog-themed cryptocurrency Shiba Inu has seen a significant surge in its burn rate. Over the last 24 hours, the Shiba Inu burn rate has increased by a staggering 5,975%, a figure that has caught the attention of the broader cryptocurrency market. I wouldn't go that far, but it's definitely newsworthy. According to Shibburn X Handle, what? Is that English? Shiba Inu's burn rate has skyrocketed by an astonishing 5,975%, corresponding with a rise in the price of SHIB. Fantastic. Yeah, so Shiba Inu used to be in the news daily, mainly about its coin burn, and it seems to be coming back all over again. For those of you who don't know, Shiba Inu is a meme coin. It is not meant to be taken seriously, though a lot of people really love this coin. And apparently, when it was created, they basically created too many of them. The coin's leaders at some point decided that they wanted the project to be taken seriously. So they announced that they were going to be burning a lot of Shiba Inu. And it just happens to turn out that they have to burn, like, hold on, 100,000 million billion. They have to burn several trillion coins with the expectation that this coin could rise to 1 cent per coin because there's so many of them. There's no one's expecting an $11,000 Shiba Inu. That would basically mean that the world's like we're dealing in rocks again. Like I'm taking pieces of paper like on my desk and writing dollar signs on them, trying to go buy milk. But the idea is that as the chain is used more coins get burned, and during a bull run, people are expecting hundreds of billions, if not trillions of coins to be destroyed as well. Cool. Yeah, we just had some Terra Luna Classic news, which was also a little bit weird because they used to be almost side by side every day. But I guess, with the bull run back, question mark, and expectations of where prices are going to go, I guess the burn rate is also pumping up as well. Yeah, that's the Shiba Inu news. As I've mentioned before, there's never any Dogecoin news. It's always Shiba Inu. Just something to keep in mind. And yeah, let's move on. This is the boss of all the stupid news. This is the super popular, mostly discussed super news discussion. We've gone over this multiple times, and I understand and I know, just based off of numbers and logic, I don't have the most viewed cryptocurrency channel. Like, I know that just from simple fact. Got it. However, there's a massive problem with misinformation within the cryptocurrency space that needs to be addressed, but will never be addressed because it's a lot easier to spread lies and misinformation and to get people afraid in some sort of way. I've been into crypto for about a decade, give or take about a decade. I started my channel, The Modern Investor, in 2016, and I think Money Rules was like 2 years after, somewhere around there. I know the cryptocurrency space. I know the inner happenings. I go through the news every single day. Besides that news, I also try and find like normal news. I try and keep myself informed as much as I mentally can because sometimes news can be quite exhausting. However, when misinformation happens, I make it my goal of the day to kind of tell everyone, as many people who are watching, what the actual real news is. So back in 2017, there was a gigantic movement in the space where we heard, and I've told you before, that China, Japan, and South Korea kind of ran the market. It was just the way that things kind of turned out. These people understood crypto before everyone else. They got into the market. They had no real barrier of entry. There was no real skepticism, if you will. For those of you who don't know, you must remember a lot of you did not get into crypto on the first day, the 5th year, or the 10th year. When you moved into the market, it's because your skepticism began to dwindle. Other countries never really had that, especially many Asian countries, and they jumped right into the space and kind of like took a stronghold of it. When people realized in 2011, 2012 that they can plug computers together and mine Bitcoin, that also became a huge, gigantic thing. And China began to take over the space, and it was noted only in 2017, 2018 that they controlled a large portion of the actual mining power. Due to heavy forms of propaganda, namely from the United States, a lot of people began to get very upset and they began to scream, and they were saying, why does China control so much of the mining power? Remember when I told you, and I've told you multiple times, how we know that like the biggest whales are controlling 91% of Bitcoin, and people scream centralization. Do you want to know why? It's because of time, because they see the opportunity, and over the course of time, they simply bought more. While you and your friends were afraid and other people left the market and retail investors sold, during any downtrend in price, these people bought. They had buy orders at $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000, and they continued to accumulate. Every time there was a bear market over the course of 2 years and prices just kept on going down. Remember how often we always had whale news? Whales are buying, whales are accumulating. Bitcoin's price fell by 14%. $114 million worth of Bitcoin were purchased at the exact same time. This is how you do it. So while the rest of the world did not pay attention to Bitcoin, and that's the rest of the world, China did. They realized that there was a brand new currency that had popped up, and individuals and people began to basically go, we can make that, and I mean air quotes, for free by ourselves. In 2018, when the cryptocurrency market began to kind of slink backwards, a number of countries kind of were like, hey, we need to kind of get this thing under control because something really crazy is happening here. And it was constantly reported that China had banned crypto. And I made a video saying they have not banned crypto. They did A, B, and C. Then there was another news topic that said China had banned crypto. Then I had to make another video saying, no, that didn't happen at all. Remember around the time when we got that this is old news. There was a thing from the Chinese government. You can Google this. A thing from the Chinese government where they, what's the word? They took Andreas Antonopoulos' book, something Bitcoin, Breaking Bitcoin, Discovering Bitcoin. I forgot what it was called. And they basically changed the name Bitcoin into blockchain. And this was kind of, it wasn't given out to people, but people were kind of like encouraged in the country to learn about blockchain and to learn about crypto. And I was like, crypto's not banned there. And then we heard that Bitcoin itself was banned and no one could own it. And I made another video saying, nope, it's not banned. This goes back to me not having millions of views on my videos, and therefore people aren't going to understand this information that's constantly coming out. No, Bitcoin is not banned in China. Day trading and speculating with Bitcoin is. You can own Bitcoin, you can hold Bitcoin, you can sell Bitcoin, you can buy Bitcoin. If you want to mine Bitcoin, because a lot of the earlier companies who were mining Bitcoin allegedly were using forms or pieces of electricity that were actually used for small provinces. The idea is you want to do it further up north or anywhere north where it's a bit cooler. So they were finding smaller towns and they were plugging into their electricity grid, and these smaller towns with several hundred homes or several thousand people had their electricity drained from these companies who were only concerned with mining Bitcoin. So the government stepped in and basically said, years ago, if you want to mine Bitcoin, you can. However, you basically have to register with the government. It was also reported that the government kind of caught on and they were like, hey, there's a lot of money to be made here. So the government allegedly bought a whole bunch of these companies up, basically buying them out, saying, hey, here's $50 million. We want this company instead. These people were like, cool, absolutely. So a lot of the mining companies are actually Chinese government owned. Everyone got it? Cool. People who are mining Bitcoin in China still control a majority of the global network despite the country's ban on cryptocurrencies. This is from Cointelegraph. This is a company. Cointelegraph is one of the largest news things in the crypto space. They should know better. Cryptocurrencies are not banned within China. People keep saying that you can't use them as a form of legal tender, but that's in every other country around the world except for 3. Over 55% of the Bitcoin mining network is controlled by Chinese mining pools. It's because they got in 2011. They realized what was going on. Even in 2017, I remember making videos about Bitcoin mining, and we heard that there were slight industries in Europe who were trying to get it going, and then a lot of these companies didn't want to do it anymore because the prices were falling, so they cashed out. They left. So the industry in Europe never really took off. In Latin America, we had Changpeng Zhao, we had Jack Dorsey and a bunch of other people try to get the industry going there as well, and a bunch of corrupt politicians basically cracked down on cryptocurrency mining, stating, I remember this, that they didn't want people to mine code. All of this has to do with computer code. They didn't want people to get to mine code because they thought that it would be a way for people to circumvent using the local currency. They tried to get it going in Africa, also didn't happen. That's what I said a couple of days ago with the thing about Nigeria. Nigeria could be the place for crypto in all of Africa. They could have set up the entire industry and been the wealthiest nation on that continent. Instead, they didn't do it. So then what ended up happening was, for those of you who missed it, when I said propaganda, it's basically because a lot of the companies were also sold and or given a donation, wink, to move some of their operations to the United States. A lot of you probably don't remember this news. There was a situation about 2 years ago, maybe even a year ago, where there was a gigantic company from China who was trying to move to the U.S., and this was shut down by a number of U.S. politicians. And you might not remember the problem. The problem was, if you've never been to the States before, the United States is gigantic. Like, it's not like a small country. It's absolutely massively huge. A couple of politicians looked into where this company was trying to move to. And I'll say it this way, allegedly, wink, the news that we got was that this company, after looking all across the entire US, found where they were actually going to set up their mining operation, had begun to set it up. And a lot of the politicians were like, wait, isn't that? Apparently it was a couple of miles, like not 50, not 20, like 10 miles or less away from, those big gigantic things that are underground, and we like, they're like power plants based on them. Those things like under the ground that go pew pew, like those. They were like really close to one. And the politicians were like, you could have chosen anywhere else and you just happened to choose next to a site like that. So they denied their order. And that was a big thing in the news, like decentralization, allow them to do what they want. And it's like, you idiots, like, do you understand how countries... Anyway, so what ended up happening is that a lot of cryptocurrency mining initiatives began to pop up basically within the United States. And what I knew was going to happen, and it happened a lot quicker than I assumed. Remember when Texas had that cold snap? Like that really crazy one where like everything was completely frozen? Basically, we found out that a large portion of all the Bitcoin mining companies, instead of spreading out across the 50 states into all 50 states, had all seemingly nearly all gone to Texas, like idiots. So when Texas had that cold snap and their power grid, because Texas has their own power grid apart from the United States, when their power grid was having trouble, 15% of Bitcoin's mining power collapsed because of centralization. Why you wouldn't equally want to have 1%, or in this case, 2%, of the American mining power in every single state is completely beyond me. So as this keeps happening and no one else really seems interested in mining Bitcoin, of course, China's still going to be at the front of the line. If no one else gets it together, if no one else is thinking logically about doing this, why isn't there an initiative to have all of the mining power that the US could create have 2% in every single state? Some states don't have a good electricity thing. Okay, cool. Bump the other ones up to 3.5%. Make it as decentralized as possible. Make actual mining initiatives in Canada and other places. Nope. Over 55% of the Bitcoin mining network is controlled by Chinese mining pools. This is according to Qiyang Zhu, founder and CEO of CryptoQuant. However, Bitcoin mining dominance is slowly shifting to the US mining firms, Zhu wrote in a post on Twitter. He said Chinese mining pools operate 55% of the network, while U.S. pools manage 40. It's actually a little bit less, you'll see. U.S. pools primarily cater to institutional mining within America, while Chinese pools support relatively smaller mining companies within Asia. Here's a chart for it right here. Of course they control so much of it. If everyone else continues to not pay attention, this is the problem with money and finance. If you have people who are going to invest, the investors will make the money. If you have people who continue to stand on the sidelines, what do you think is going to happen to them? I tell you that all the time. If you have 10 years to invest and you do nothing over 10 years, do you think you're just going to start making money magically? You think it's going to just start floating to you? No, of course. Even since then, they're still investing in their mining operation. They understand what Bitcoin is. When we talk about what Bitcoin is and what it's going to be and how high it's going to go in price, you think this government's going to go, guys, stop. Like, you know, this isn't decentralized enough. Like, let's give it to other players. No, they want the money for themselves. This was gigantic news. Gigantimous news. And a lot of people are crying foul because they want all the mining power to happen in America. Remember when I said stupid news? Because imagine you have 90% of the mining power within the United States. If you haven't seen America's infrastructure, if you want to watch a documentary, watch documentaries on America's infrastructure. You are going to be mortified, and you will probably sign a petition to get all mining power moved to other countries. America's infrastructure, some of it is actually over 100 years old. That's not a joke. Some of the actual pipes that are used to bring like drinking water around the US are from the 1920s. Look it up. It's literally not a joke. There was something, I think 2 years ago, last point, there was something 2 years ago where Biden was like, we have to fix the infrastructure. People were like, he's lying. And I was like, yeah, you clearly don't know what your infrastructure actually looks like. I'm telling you, if you watch documentaries on it, at some point you're going to stumble across one that talks about bridges. You know how America usually deals with its bridges? Like imagine a bridge, like a gigantic metal bridge. If there's any kind of like corrosion, like if you know like the metal's beginning to wear down and like that steel beam or bar needs to be replaced, you know what they do instead? I'm not joking. This isn't a joke. They take a marker and they draw a circle around it, and then they check back next year with a photo to see if the corrosive part has gotten bigger. And if it has, then they draw another circle around it to see if it gets bigger the next year. You think I'm joking. I'm not. I promise you, 1,000% I'm not. Watch a documentary on American infrastructure. It is going to boggle your mind. It is going to, if they decided right now to fix their infrastructure, it would take, I think, 200 or 300 years, 200 to 300 years to properly bring everything up to date. Right. So yeah, this was very, I guess, unpopular. I'm not really sure. But no, Bitcoin's mining needs to A, be more decentralized, but B, you can't knock them for figuring this out over a decade ago and no one else has jumped on board. You know, there's other places in the world, right? Why isn't everyone else doing this? You know, there's other places around the world. So until we see that, they're going to be the leader in Bitcoin mining. Whales are going to continue to own all of the Bitcoin. Institutions will continue to buy all the homes and all the land. There's also buying opportunities out there, like as far as like homes and land and investments. But a lot of people are so fixated on owning a home, they don't look any further. Then in 20 years, when you realize you have nothing because you were so fixated on buying a 5-family property to be able to rent out, you're going to go, oh my gosh, I could have bought stocks. I could have bought crypto. I could have bought land. I could have bought other smaller property. I could have bought overseas. I could have done so. That's what happens. If you lose focus, you lose money. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, great morning, great afternoon, great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.